in pondering all these things, I've written letters to the president and representatives and senators. I've met some of them, trying to get them to do the right thing. In some cases, I think maybe I've had a tiny influence, maybe not, but the best influence I've had is being part of the protest movement during the Trump administration. And I thought it was mostly over. I thought we wouldn't have to go through this again. Here we are. It's 2024. It's a time when, yes, this year will determine whether America will be on the verge possibly of disintegrating and not being a democracy anymore, or whether at least it'll survive on a reasonable level. But I think that, at one point there was a chance that we might not be in this situation. I think we all know that there's much blame to go around. There's also not much point in making the blame, but I wrote a poem addressed to President Biden. I haven't put it on his website yet. We'll see what might be his. Actually, it's written in response to his speech of yesterday. And today, of course, is the famous anniversary, third anniversary of that horrible day in January in 2021. But this poem goes to, that's addressed to President Biden, is our way of life has never been so in danger. From one side of politics comes the rancor. How have we normalized this level of horror? Due to a con artist, murderer, and whore, recriminations of who, how, and why, our system has nearly been allowed to die. Why is the criminal, traitorous head of the MAGA movement allowed to spread dread, fear and intimidation without a check, openly declaring our society he'll wreck? Where has been the strength of President Biden? Where up till now has his will been hiding? On this day, the third anniversary of that January 6th of such noted treachery, I hope his recent speech that makes some attempt, a new move in rhetoric to finally present, where a new move in rhetoric to finally present. Where were the other actions to push back the hordes of barbarians at the gates? Where were the swords of justice which denied, maybe far too late, to do anything to ensure our country's good faith? I'm not and never would ever say anything that could be to our task any way damaging. Survival of our republic cannot be in question, even as we all deal with the apprehension. Of course, any fool or ignorant traitor who dallies with third parties to choose failure needs to stop that nonsense or get some composure. I do dedicate myself to stability and freedom. Of course, reject the rule of a fanatic madman. But I must ask, after 3 years of your stable man rule, why does it look like a close run between stable and cruel? And I will ask 2 more questions, if I may, sir, President Biden, at the danger of intelligent questions causing a stir. Why aren't the Russian frozen assets already at Ukraine? And why aren't you requiring Israel to behave more sane? Now, I guess since I have a little more time, I may describe that in prose. President Biden has known for at least 6 months to a year that he has in his power to provide the frozen Russian assets that were seized by our country in 2002 when the illegal and immoral invasion of Ukraine took place by President Putin against the signed agreement by our country to come to Ukraine's defense because they gave up the nuclear weapons in 1994.
Budapest Memorandum.
The Budapest Memorandum, it's called. I should have a different name for it because it was actually our country's solemn promise that we would not leave Ukraine in the lurch if they were attacked. Russia signed it too, that they would come to Ukraine's defense if they were ever attacked, because they gave up the nuclear weapons, 3,000 nuclear weapons. You can look it up, it's well known. The lucky thing is that it's starting to become more known to the public. For some reason, and again, I don't want to criticize President Biden too much, but he has avoided mentioning the Budapest Memorandum once, as has President Clinton, who's the one who signed it.
Yep.
And it's kind of a disturbing thing that that would immediately shame the Republicans who are refusing to provide aid for Ukraine in this dour hour of need. But the Republicans may still not care, because it's just a piece of paper to them. It wasn't officially a treaty, it was just an agreement between presidents. It's a moral duty for us to come to Ukraine's defense and continue to do so. But the Republicans would not consider that to be their duty. Now, Biden has known, though, that he can unilaterally sign a paper by declaring an emergency. He can use the frozen Russian funds that were seized in 2002, and so we've had them for over a year, and provide them to Ukraine based on the fact that both that we're morally required to do that by the Budapest Memorandum, and also by the fact that Putin has reneged any possibility of having any right to those funds being returned to him, like as if, as if he withdrew completely and somehow begged for the $300 billion. Do I hear Dr. Evil? $300 billion. That could be provided to Ukraine tomorrow if Biden decided to. So I ask him why. And I also would ask why Israel is entitled to continue committing war crimes and not proceed with their war on a more sane basis. So, insane and Ukraine happen to rhyme. I'm sure I'm not the first one to have noticed that. So I have an interesting observation, and that is to do with another thing that I have a bone to pick with Israel, and it has to do with science. And I mentioned this before the last time in the December meeting here, and that is that there is a way that Israel, had they been using science, that they could have done it years ago. They could have started at any time. They could have started after the Hamas invasion that killed so many people. And a horrendous thing, of course, obviously. Netanyahu might have done a 9/11 and allowed it to occur, like some people think George W. Bush did. Beside the point, it was a terrible thing whether Hamas was allowed to do it or not. They did it. It was their choice to murder and rape and take those people hostage. But Israel's response has been, I think, beyond the pale. I think most people would agree who are responsible individuals. But if Israel had wanted to make sure that they got at the tunnels where the hostages might be held, and where Hamas is supposed to have put a whole ton of materials and weapons and everything, stockpiling them, they could have routed them out in not such a way that they had to bomb everything. Anyway, I thought of doing something which is the first thing for me is attempt something in the way of a rap on a subject that's scientific, technological scientific. And so we'll see if you get any of this from the rap, as it were. I'm not going to really try to do a particularly great rap because I kind of got laryngitis, as you can tell. But so here is, anyway, for good or ill, the Rap On Tomography. There are many things a citizen ought to know. Well, let's catch you up so you won't be slow. Gonna have to go into the mode of how to teach, using the kind of hip-hop, not too much of a reach. Everybody's had an x-ray, well, most of you. It's a way of looking inside of you. Well, this is something similar, a little obscure. But for a current problem, it could be a cure. Let me tell you about a strange kind of ray. It's really a particle, well, what can I say? The cosmos is weird. We call them cosmic rays. Now, don't let your eyes roll over with a glaze. They come from all over, some from the sun, some from other galaxies, by weight many a ton. They're part of the cosmos, cosmic rays, get it? Astronauts can see them, yeah, that's legit. Flashes in their eyes for 60 years or more. Just another weird fact in obscure science lore. The point is they're a thing, and they do interact. You can't get around that. It's the absolute fact. Now these cosmic rays, when they do collide with atmospheric atoms that cannot hide, and do give rise to what we call debris products, and ultimately a very special flux. That's flux, F-L-U-X. A flow of teeny particles called muons!
Muons.
Muons. They're real, not some made-up internet come-ons. Real particles, and even though unstable, great distances to glide they're almost able. They can reach the Earth's surface with great energy. Some are going through you without jeopardy. Oh, the muon, the fantastic muon. Please don't feel so much put upon, people. Don't feel so much put upon. After all, millions of neutrinos pierce us through every second, and none of them say thank you. Millions of neutrinos are going through you every second. Just a fact. They don't interact hardly at all. Okay, so, at least our friend the muon might just help us out. How, you say? How? Well, let me tell you what it's about. These muons have no personal, particular objective. Some say they have no purpose. Well, that's all subjective. But though limited in lifetime before they decay, many go underground. It's nature's uncanny way to give us an effect that mankind can really use. It is up to us for good effects to choose. You see, when muons go through matter, through air, surface buildings, soil, rocks, whatever, there's a way to examine the flux signature downstream and use clever algorithms to see what that does mean. The big words for it is Muon tomography. The tom part refers to the methodology, locating cavities and tunnels by matter density. See, it's really simple. Yes, you need the experts. And in the pocketbook, you might say it hurts. Or Israel has a problem, and they seem to need a hand. Like it or not, they are a so-called ally, even though they act hardly better than a bully. It's not a perfect rhyme, but what the hell. It seems they're happy with the oldest technology, using big, dumb bombs indiscriminately to locate tunnels by killing and destruction. Perhaps they do need some adult instruction. Well, using tactics not updated since the 70s. In the eyes of the world, they're committing felonies. Nobody disagrees Hamas is very evil, but revenge has to be committed at a decent level. If one of your major problems is the underground, have one bound to use detection methods non-lethal and humane instead of bombing willy-nilly in ways that look insane. That's the deal. It's what's real. From the river to the sea, the muons flow through every he and she. Over the whole geography. Well, use the damn tomography.
Yay.